Hey, Pastor Scott here with the Weekly Word. We're looking today, as we continue speaking of Jesus this month, at a passage in 1 Corinthians 13 called the love chapter, a very famous passage. And right before that, Paul had been writing to the church and to believers in the church of how to live. He'd been telling about spiritual gifts and the way of life and doing life as one body with many parts. At the very end of chapter 12, he says, "But now, let me show you a way of life that is best of all." He boils it down for us, and that's what we're looking at today, what it means to have it all boiled down. And he writes this in chapter 13, verses 1 through 3. "If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I'd be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains but didn't love others, I'd be nothing. If I gave everything I had to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it, but if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing." You see, Paul boils it all down for us here. He's saying, hey, you can be a religious person with your rituals and your rules and pointing out errors in other people's following of Jesus, and you can toe the line perfectly, but if there's not love at the base of it all, if you're not just loving people because you're loved by God, then you're missing it all. That's why he boils it all down for us. If it lacks love, it lacks everything. And so when we're speaking of Jesus, are we speaking in a way that shows love? And you know, when you speak of Jesus to people, do they hear you and feel you loving them? Do they know that you care about them? Or do they sense, man, you're just pointing out directions and rules and all my wrongs and what I need to do to live my life right? And a lot of those things are good. It's healthy to get out of bad habits. It's good to do good things. It's great to follow Scripture. We're supposed to, but if we beat them over the head with wrongs and what they better do rights, I don't think they're going to hear you speaking of Jesus. And they're certainly not going to sense the love of God coming from you. How are you doing loving others where they are in their circumstances? I know that when I was my most broken, life had fallen apart the most for me. Nothing looked like I had a shot to make it. People loved me where I was, no matter what, no matter how I responded, no matter what I felt in the moment, no matter what things came out of my mouth or how broken I was. They just loved me right there. And they showed me the unconditional love of God in my life. So when I think about my life speaking of Jesus in a way that lines up with 1 Corinthians 13, I always come back to this place. If Jesus could love me like He loved me when I was at my most broken and stick with me, then I can love others where they are. I don't need them to change for my sake. I want to love them for the sake of Jesus. So when you're speaking of Jesus, do they sense from your heart that you are loving them unconditionally, sacrificially, absolutely for them in every circumstance, just like Jesus?